Welcome to Tech Talks for AdTech. I'm Shiny. I head content for AdTech. And today we have with us Sandeep Amar, who is a senior leader in the digital publishing space. I think a lot of us know him already. And he's the founder of Inaaj and Publishers Digital Lab. So welcome, Sandeep. Welcome to Tech Talks.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, how are you?
Great. So we look forward to having an insightful conversation with you today. I know you have a great insight into multiple spaces in the digital realm. So to start with, let me start with media consumption, and we see that media consumption has moved largely during these 3 months, and all of us as advertisers, marketers are kind of scrambling to get the eyeballs from the right places. So what is your take on this? How has this moved, and what is it that marketers can learn from here?
So overall digital media consumption definitely has gone up in the lockdown. The OTT and the gaming space has been big winners. And as per various reports, OTT has grown, from 80% to 120%. That's the kind of growth, and gaming had similar numbers. And that's pretty obvious because under the lockdown, especially the hard lockdown, some of these numbers grew very rapidly. And, people were also able to save the travel time. So there's, imagine, at least, even if you're working the whole day, you're able to save 2.5, 3 hours every day. And that has also kind of moved into the entertainment time of people. Now, in terms of e-commerce, the hard lockdown didn't allow the non-essential goods, and it kind of slowly opened. Grocery initially got a momentum, but what happened was that due to delivery restrictions, the traffic kind of became a little milder because most of the times when people went to the grocery sites, it was not available in their particular destination. News sites definitely had an upside. Classified portals, they declined a little, and they showed a decline during the lockdown. Hardcore e-commerce obviously had a decline because they were not even delivering. So people like Myntra and Jabong and those kind of sites. Travel, the less said is better. Obviously, it kind of, the traffic must have plummeted very badly.
Thank you. I think we have all been seeing these. It's time we kind of took them into our stride now. And so another thing that we've seen, Sandeep, is that print publications tried to move really fast, and they came up with EPapers, which was circulated very aggressively through multiple platforms. What is your take on that? Is that a successful model that we can look forward to going forward, or is that something that needs to be, regressed?
So I think probably the way it has panned out, I think it was difficult for the media companies to understand how to tackle this particular situation, because this has never happened with them. Even the 2008 crisis, or earlier the dot-com burst of 2000, there was never such a situation where newspaper kind of didn't reach the users for such a long time. And that too in a period where they felt that the risk is that people may not come back to the newspaper after they get hooked onto the digital news. And at some level, when the newspapers were not reaching the users, I think the newspaper companies also felt that the advertisers might get convinced if we are able to make the e-paper distribution very effective. So I think due to that, these people pushed e-paper through various channels. Sometimes it is getting through an HDFC mailer. Sometimes it is getting distributed through WhatsApp. And, I was receiving e-papers from a lot of newspaper executives. They were sending their respective e-paper. They were pushing it on LinkedIn. And every day, everybody was trying to push the paper. And the point they wanted to make was that our, users are still reading our e-paper. Now, the funny thing in that is that as soon as lockdown is getting released, these people have made the e-papers paid. Like Times went paid very recently, and they've made it 200 rupees a month. And Indian Express was actually paid. They went unpaid during the early lockdown, and they did some aggressive distribution. And now they've gone back to paid. Hindu stayed paid all the time. So, what I think once the lockdown is opening, I think the fear, I mean, this is just my theory, but seems like common sense theory, that publishers felt this fear that if users are getting e-paper for free, they may not go back to the physical paper. You got my point? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what happened was that, these people, they made it paid back again, or they've started keeping it paid, because obviously the newspaper revenues are far, far bigger than the digital revenues. So overall, it's been quite a ride for an e-paper, and now the e-papers are paid. And what needs to be seen in the next IRS or NRS, whichever is the credible data for readership of newspapers, that what is the impact on newspaper readership after the lockdown?
I think only time will tell us that.
Yeah.
And another player that has profited from this whole piece is the OTT platforms. And how do you see that? Because we've seen a massive rise in OTT numbers. How do you see that panning out? And there are a lot of movies also being released on OTT platforms instead of cinema halls. Do you think that will continue post all this, or how do you see that trend coming out?
See, I think OTT definitely benefited, and people are watching much more miniseries and all kind of content on OTTs, and the growth is probably more than 100%. Various people have given data around 80 to 90%, but we can easily assume the growth is more than 100%. And one good example I can give you is. That this particular series, Money Heist. It's kind of an old series, and only one season came very recently, and that too, kind of didn't gather momentum in India when it was there earlier. But it seems that the discovery of that series became quite big in India, and it had all the memes. And recently, Patal Lok got released. That also has become very popular. And then, there has been other successes like Asur on Boot. So, there have been a lot of successes during this OTT. And I think the OTT content got a little bit more chance for visibility as the growth was there and people had free time to do it. Now, with the movies being shot and ready for release, for example, this Gulabo Sitabo, which was Shudit Sarkar's movie starring Amitabh Bachchan and Ayushmann Khurrana. This, I think, was supposed to release sometime in April. And since April was a lockdown, and I think the way the movie business is, the more time the movie kind of is not released, the production and, the whole costs kind of mount up. Maybe they are debt funded or whichever way they are. I mean, in any business, if you put in the capital, and the ROI is unknown, you kind of would take the next best move. Now, I don't know whether the deals are profitable for these movies, but obviously, that Amazon Prime is going to premiere the movie on June 12th, this Kulabo Sitabo, and it's a big movie, right? Amitabh Bachchan and Ayushmann are big guys. So this is starting to happen. This is a brand new trend. And this is going to, make OTTs come of age. And the next movie, I think Amazon Prime has announced is Shakuntala Devi, which stars Vidya Balan. And I think they've also announced 5-6 regional movies also to come on Prime very soon. And I think Netflix has also announced Anurag Kashyap movie Paisa Bolta Hai. Now that's going to get choked. Paisa Bolta Hai. So that is going to get released on June 5th. So I think it's quite a coming of age for OTT. And since cinema halls are not likely to be opened very soon, I mean, that's what it seems like, because cinema hall or event or any kind of place, I mean, a cinema hall is a closed, hall, and any single patient of corona can infect all the people out there in cinema halls. So I feel cinema halls will take some time to open up. So that way OTT continues to have the edge, and we'll probably see more and more releases on OTT. Although whatever I read, I feel that industry is not fully happy about it. So there has been some mixed thoughts on this. But from a digital OTT perspective, it's a boom.
The much needed digital transformation that we've all been talking about is hugely accelerated, especially in the movie industry, right?
Correct.
And another industry that has seen this growth is e-commerce, and suddenly everyone is trying to buy even the most basic of stuff from e-commerce. So how do you see the lifting of lockdown? What are the trends that, what are different trends that you're seeing in e-commerce, and what, do you think after the lockdown is lifted, say, and we're allowed to go into markets, and a lot of places we are, is this likely to continue, the growth of e-commerce, or is this a habit-forming thing, or is it something that people will go back to your good old, local markets and buy stuff from there?
See, I think obviously there was an upspurt in the grocery space because a little bit of panic that, how long this lasts and we should stock up some stuff. And then a lot of SKUs were not available in local markets, and they may have been available on the e-commerce platform. So that kind of happened in the initial phase of lockdown. I think lockdown kind of fully opened a few days back when the red zones were allowed the non-essential delivery. And incidentally, the red zones were kind of big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. So, once they opened up, I think the e-commerce truly opened up. And there have been a spurt of, sales, Live Mint has reported. So I think initial jump was expected because there was a pent-up demand for two odd months, and, there has been a jump. But it is a little complicated than that. See, what has grown is laptop chargers, mobile phones. So I think items which people definitely need. I think this is just a theory, but I was talking to a very big dealer of air conditioners. Now, this guy was selling 200, since he's at a distributor level. He was, trading around 200 air conditioners a day. And, upfront, he also has a store where he was selling 50 to 70 air conditioners a day. But, the sales have really plummeted. So what I feel is that some of the more expensive items, there'll be a reduction in demand because of, I think, the buying propensity of people would have come down because of massive salary cuts and, overall gloomy scenario and lot of layoffs. So at some level, I think people want to conserve cash. So maybe in the higher higher cost items, it may not fly so high as the essential goods. And this initial pent-up demand may have an upward growth, but it might plateau very soon or might even come down in a few days. Another thing which has happened is that the lockdown is not fully opened. It's quite complex. The cross-border movement. So only yesterday I was talking to a private label brand, and they were happy that some of their sales are back. But the movement of goods is still not smooth. There are passes. Some of the times they're not able to fully circumvent through the borders, and it's a little complicated. But one thing is for sure. Each day is getting better. If we look at ourselves in terms of business and e-commerce and e-commerce happening, I think, and if you compare it with 1 month back, I think we are in a very good period, and I think it is going to get better and better from here.
Let's all hope for that. Thank you so much. I think that was a very insightful conversation, Sandeep. Any last thoughts? Anything that you want to share with us?
So I kind of feel that the lockdown was kind of an unprecedented event, and it has helped some businesses. It has kind of punched a hole through many digital businesses. And as per an ASCOM report, 40% of the startups are likely to shut down, and there's hardly any movement of um, services and products. And we've seen Ola and Uber and Swiggy and Zomato and so many other companies doing layoffs. So it's overall not been a good period for digital and startup ecosystem. Even the media companies have been bleeding badly. Newspaper companies have hit 85% on revenues. Websites are down, I think 60% in terms of revenue. Cash flow is really stopped in the market. But I kind of feel that it's getting better every day, because now that the movement of the market has happened, and the market's moving far more freely, we just hope that these numbers of corona kind of plateau down, and these opening of markets and the other actions taken by the government are continued in the positive fashion. I think that's what we all hope for.
Thank you. I think that's a good note to stay hopeful and see that each day brings a better day.